Hello and welcome to another Frenchman Learns About Japan reaction stream, and today we have the celebrities branch, I guess, where I learn about different celebrities. Right now we've mostly focused on seiyuu, singers, idols, people like that, and I think we still have quite a bit of focus on that, but maybe eventually I'll find videos about other type of people, that would be interesting to learn about. But yeah, all the videos we're gonna watch today are once again by the great channel Neon John, so link to the playlist with all these videos in the description. Check it out, obviously they're the one making the great video and the research and all that. And yeah, today we have quite a few people that I know, but do I really know them, you know what I mean? Like I might know their music or their voice acting, but I probably don't know their story. That's always what's end up happening, right? But yeah. Also link to my Discord in the description if you want to follow me, my stream element and Patreon if you want to support me, request reaction, the usual kind of stuff, right? Anything more I could say? Nah, I think that's it top of my head. I'll be doing more of this, we still have a lot of Neon Gen video to catch up to, and it does post pretty regularly, so I think there's already like more new episodes, but we still have a lot, so, we should learn about all those interesting people. But yeah, today we have people like Nakata Yasutaka, Mizuki Nana, which again I'm a big fan as far as music goes, but I know nothing about her story. ASP, Fairouz, Fairouz, yeah, quite a few interesting people. I mean, we'll see, how many people we actually watch. But yeah, should be fun, as always. Let me put English to Japanese subs as always, like this to Japanese. Here we go. Let me get rid of the BGM. Like this. Okay, so let's get into it. Japan's most famous music producer, Nakata Yasutaka. Do I actually know him? I don't know. I don't recognize the name.
From his own music unit Capsule to the likes of Perfume and Kyari Pamu Pamu, a world-renowned music genius whose talent knows no bounds. But what's his secret? Let's try to find out. It's time to talk about Nakata Yasutaka. While spending my university years studying Japanese and dreaming of one day living in the land of maid cafes, like many, I spent a long time appreciating Japanese culture from afar through platforms like YouTube. And one of the discoveries I made in the early 2010s on YouTube was the group Perfume.
I've checked out a few songs before, they're pretty good, yeah.
With killer songs like Chocolate Disco and Dream Fighter, I was instantly hooked to their sound, but I would later find out that electronica sound was actually down to one man, Nakata Yasutaka, who is actually one of the most well-known music producers both in and out of Japan. Born and raised in the city of Kanazawa, located in the prefecture of Ishikawa, Yasutaka's interest in music, including producing music, actually started from a very young age, mainly thanks to his parents. They made him start taking piano lessons from when he was small, whether he
Which is not that rare in Japan, it seems like.
wanted to or not. Parents in Japan making their kids take piano lessons is fairly common. However, luckily Yasutaka would really take to it. But he also wasn't too fond of playing other people's songs. Looking to create his own music, he would start composing piano songs from around the time he was in elementary school. When he was in middle school, after writing his piece, he would then start recording his songs to cassette tapes. It's this process of recording songs that Yasutaka would end up finding enjoyable, showing pretty early on that he was someone naturally geared to have a career in music. His parents were, in his words, geeks when it came to technology, meaning they also had some audio
Is geeks actually a term that's used in Japan?
equipment lying around here and there in the house, which he would use. Liking to experiment with sound, he would soon find out about different sound recording methods like ping pong recording, which apparently involves combining multiple track stems into one. But soon after, he would discover a device that would lead him closer to the kind of music he would be known for, a synthesizer. Similar to a keyboard in some respects, but allows one to have full control, being able to manipulate the sounds in the way you want.
The song,
In very simple terms, Yasutaka basically became a sort of music otaku, being completely obsessed with just making songs. It wasn't even something that he was necessarily putting a ton of work into. In fact, he says it usually takes him around 3 hours to produce something, because once he gets started, he doesn't usually stop until the track is complete, usually doing the composition, arranging and recording all at the same time. This style of making music is something he still does, although apparently within the music world, it's pretty uncommon. Interestingly, Yasutaka's high school didn't have any after-school clubs, something that's quite rare in Japan, so after school was finished, he would just return home and start making music. When Yasutaka was 16, he once participated in a contest set up by the Yamaha Corporation. His goal? To win the cash prize so that he can buy a sampler. I'm sure those things aren't cheap. He put quite a bit of work into the piece he sent in and amazingly won the Technique prize. But instead of getting money, Yasutaka was awarded with a Yamaha instrument. I'm guessing it wasn't a sampler. Now, up until that point,
sell it and make money.
Yasutaka wasn't really making music for anyone other than himself. He didn't even consider having others listen to it. He had never even been to any music clubs. But that would change thanks to someone known as Takemori-san. Takemori-san works at a music shop that Yasutaka would often frequent during his high school years, where he would spend hours playing around with different music devices. After finding out he makes music, Takemori-san suggested to Yasutaka that he should get people to listen to his work. Perhaps related to this, Yasutaka would start getting into DJing during his high school years and actively going to record shops to get them to listen to his music. He was also asked by a friend of his who worked in the beauty industry to make music for their fashion shows. This is what Yasutaka generally thinks as being the starting point of his career as a musician. However, the big change was when Takemori-san realized just how good the quality of his songs were, because she would eventually introduce him to someone that would change his life forever. She would introduce him to Koshijima Toshiko. Koshijima Toshiko, whose nickname is Koshiko, is also from Kanazawa, and around the time she was introduced to Yasutaka was also still in high school. Apparently she was attending a vocal school. Not too long after meeting each other, it was decided that the two of them would form a music unit that would be called Capsule. This was
I might have heard of Capsule, maybe. Like the name rings a bell, but not too deeply.
1997, Yasutaka would produce songs that would make full use of Koshiko's vocals. There was no YouTube yet back in those days, so to market Capsule, he would make demo tapes and leave them in music shops so that people could listen to their songs. Pretty cool. Capsule's music has been called a few things over the years: electronica, synth pop, EDM, etc. But I personally like Shibuya K, aka Shibuya style.
Yeah, I've seen that quite a bit.
After Yasutaka graduated high school, he made the bold move of moving to Tokyo, where all the action was. A few years later, after their forming, Capsule would make their major debut. There isn't a lot of information here about how this transpired, but the label they were under was Yamaha Music Communications. Seeing how Yasutaka participated in that contest set up by the Yamaha Corporation when he was 16, it was most likely through some connection he made there. What's interesting though is that Yasutaka didn't exactly aspire to be a musician. Making music was just something he really enjoyed, and somehow it ended up becoming his job. I can't say there are many that have had that experience. Like I mentioned earlier, Yasutaka pretty much does everything by himself. Not only that, he does everything within his own studio. Nope, no professional studio here. He also incorporates the singer's vocals in from the very start of the process, whereas typically the singer would come in later after the track has been completed. This unorthodox style of producing music is most likely the key to Yasutaka's sound. When Capsule debuted, he did apparently try things the professional way at first, but it just didn't feel right to him, which is why he asked the record company to let him do things his way. Yasutaka says that if a track doesn't do well, it would be okay because he put out something he was proud of and
But I don't know if the record company would agree with that.
wouldn't be able to blame anyone else for its lack of success. Even though the sound quality of his songs might not be quote-unquote professional grade, they have that fun vibe that anyone can enjoy. But that very same style would connect to other projects too, something I'll get into in just a bit. Capsule's first major single would be Sakura, released in March of 2001. This would be a track of their first album, Haikara Garu, that would come out in November of that same year. Interestingly, Sakura would would also be used within the morning news TV program called Expressu. In fact, their next single Hanabi would also be used within that same program. Maybe it's because of how versatile and accessible Capsule's music was, but you could find a lot of their songs being used all over the place. So personally speaking, some of my favorite Capsule tracks include Starry Sky, Sugarless Girl, and of course, Jumper. Now, Yasutaka's way of producing music seemed to set a lot of eyes on him, and his success with Capsule got him a number of different offers for different music-related projects. One that he took on was doing the soundtrack for a horror suspense movie called Utsusu, which was released in 2002. But it would be his next project that would help not only spread his name in Japan, but most likely overseas too. In 2003, he would become the music producer for Perfume. At the time, Perfume's members were around 15 to 16 years old, and were all from the same talent academy called Actors School Hiroshima, within which they created the group. Actors School Hiroshima has a close relationship with the Japanese entertainment company called Amuse Inc. And to keep a long story short, Perfume would become a part of Beehive, which was a training program set up by Amuse Inc. Through an idea brought up by one of Amuse Inc.'s new employees, Perfume would go down the techno-pop route, and as a part of that, they wanted to make Yasutaka their music producer. A good choice indeed. Of course, the other artist whose sound is attributed to Yasutaka is Caddy Pamu Pamu, something that would happen a number of years later after Perfume in 2011. The story goes that Yasutaka was invited by Caddy's agency's CEO to be a DJ for an event where the two would meet. Apparently, Caddy wasn't a singer yet at that time, still doing her modeling work, but would soon go down that route with Yasutaka as her music producer. Yasutaka has honestly done so many different music projects, it would be impossible to fit everything in, but if there is one other thing I want to mention is that he was also behind Ado's song Shinjidai, the main theme song to One Piece film Red.
That's great. That's a great song. Yeah, I figured, I mean, if you tell me, oh, he's nice. If you tell me, like, he's done a lot of famous artist songs, I've definitely heard it, right? Without actually knowing his name, I've definitely heard his work.
We'll have a video on Ado if you're interested. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. This was a request, but like I mentioned in the beginning, I have been listening to Capsule and Perfume for a number of years now.
I might have to check out Capsule.
Of course, I'm very familiar with Yasutaka's work. It was a real pleasure to make this video and to get to know more about him. I know some people think he comes off as arrogant, but honestly, I don't get that vibe from him at all. I think he's pretty down to earth and just a chill guy who knows his craft very well. But let me know your thoughts, and as...
Okay, well, again, I'm sure I've heard some of his stuff, so... yeah, I'm sure I'll hear more of it. Perfume should be okay. He did the OST for Liar Game, the J-drama. Interesting, yeah. Okay. But again, someone that I know without really knowing, you know, like many behind the scene names, I think that's how it ends up being. Sorry about that, yeah. Interesting person. Okay, next we have Mizuki Nana, the most famous seiyuu singer. That's probably true, yeah. Became a big fan because of Symphonia. I absolutely love Symphonia. She voiced Tsubasa in that. But frankly, it's not just Symphonia, I mean, she has so much more great stuff. I've also listened to all of her solo music. But yeah, she's just absolutely incredible. Some of you guys know how much I can be down bad for like deep voice female singer. And you know, not only in voice acting like at Tsubasa, but also in her singing, she's exactly that, yeah. Incredible stuff.
Whether it's singing or voice acting, she has dominated both. From her numerous star roles within anime to even being the narrator of Animal Planet, she is one of the most recognized voices in Japan. We're going seiyuu again. In this episode of Otaku Files, we explore the world of Mizuki Nana. Most of us outside of Japan may not be aware of some of the more interesting personalities within the Japanese otaku landscape, so I thought I'd do a little video series and try to shed some light on these individuals. This is Otaku Files. As was also the case with Hirano Aya, many Japanese voice actors/actresses tend to be really good singers. The reason for this is noted that their vocal training ends up improving their overall vocal performance, helping them also be better singers.
I mean, I think, no, it was real. I think part of it is also, again, like the way seiyuu work evolved from like the old days before the 2000s to into the 2000s, right, where there was more and more anime and games, was something that it used to be mostly voice acting, right? But in the 2000s, you know, being a seiyuu became more like you do voice acting, you do singing, you do fan event, radio show, TV appearance, amongst a lot of other things, right? So like, yeah, singing is not that surprising.
Now, when it comes to female seiyuu, aka voice actresses, that have also been amazingly successful professional singers, there are few that can beat Mizuki Nana, and there is a particular reason for that, something I'll get into in just a bit. With her singles regularly placing themselves within the top 10 of the Oricon charts, with many even hitting the top spot, make no mistake, Nana is a well-known and respected singer in Japan. In fact, she was the first seiyuu to have their single and their album reach the top spot of the weekly Oricon charts. Not only that though, she was the first seiyuu to have a concert in the famous indoor venue Tokyo Dome. For those overseas fans of
I don't think I've seen that one, but I've seen a few of her concerts and they're absolutely insane.
Naruto, her name might also ring a bell. That is because Nana is actually the voice of the one and only Hyuga Hinata. Even if you're not into Naruto but watch anime, you have most
Most of my personnages Loco and Fear and Hunger. Okay.
likely come across one of the characters she has voiced as. There is no end when it comes to talking about Nana's achievements. But how did this even all start? Nana is from the city of Niihama, located in the prefecture of Ehime. Her father was a dental technician, but that's not all. Being someone who always pursued their interests, he held various qualifications, including to be a baseball umpire, a ship pilot, and a singing instructor. Yep, that's right. Her father taught her how to sing, using his own original method. Nana describes her father as a Showa no chichi, someone with quite conservative values, believing that boys should be aiming to be baseball players and girls to be singers. Her father started teaching her how to sing from the age of 5, but this was not only because of his beliefs. He apparently opened a karaoke classroom where he taught adults how to sing. Seeing how much everyone was having fun, little Nana said that she wanted to try too, which essentially signaled the go-ahead to her father. However, as she would soon find out, her father was actually quite strict. Lessons were every day, right after getting back from school, and it didn't even matter if she had a test or wasn't even feeling well. Nana had to have her singing lesson. She was also made to sing without a mic, because according to her father, that was how to give her best performance. Besides scolding her when he felt that she wasn't giving it her all, her father would force her to remember the lyrics of a song by the next day. Nana also had a curfew, needing to be home by 5 p.m, meaning she had no time to play with friends. If she was late by even a few minutes, her father would even lock her in their shed.
It's such like a double-edged sword kind of thing, right? I mean, on one side she became like literally one of the best singers in Japan. I think that's fair to say, right? Also one of the best seiyuu. But it's a question of was it worth it, right? Going through all this bullshit. Like, there's many cases like this of, you know, terrible parents who they probably failed at their own dream, so like they put it on their kid by forcing them like that to do something, right? You think at 5 years old she decided all this for herself? Nope, the dad decided it and was like, yeah, that's what you're doing. And obviously again, it resulted in her being one of the greatest singers of all time, but that doesn't justify it, like seriously. Yeah. I hate when parents do that again, like, you know, there's a middle ground, like, you know, I wasn't a good example as far as like, you know, there was no parenting on my side, so like I became a terrible student and, you know, didn't apply myself to anything, right? But then this is like the absolute extreme opposite of that, right? Where like you see your kid literally as like a tool that you have every right to use how you see fit, and you just make them do whatever you want, you know what I mean? It's sad when you see kids like that who their whole life is literally just doing exactly, you know, what their parents are telling them for the career or whatever. It's sad. Again, it's conflicting because like I'm such a fan of her, right? And you know, it's probably the case of like if she didn't have this kind of childhood, she wouldn't be where she is today and as great as she is. but it's still kind of fucked up.
But she was allowed to take calligraphy lessons. Apparently her father said this was so that she wouldn't be embarrassed when she writes her signature in the future. Her father had some pretty high expectations for her, to say the least. Nana would also start regularly participating in singing contests, almost every week even. As you can imagine, her father would often scold her about her performance. But even though at first she wasn't winning so much, through perseverance, Nana would gradually climb up the ranks. And that actually links to her eventual career. In her second year of middle school, she would be approached by a talent agency from Tokyo and was offered to join if she was able to fulfill a certain condition. Nana could join if she became the grand champion of a singing tournament called the Setouchi Nodo Jiman 10周年記念全国大会, which was a major national tournament. Not exactly an easy condition to fulfill, but this was a massive chance to break into showbiz, something her whole family understood, especially her father, who was unusually worried about her.
Oh wow, traditional singing, huh?
Despite some fierce competition though, she actually managed to win. After winning the
No
tournament,
surprise.
15-year-old Nana made her way to Tokyo and ended up going to Horikoshi Koto Gakko, which is a famous high school noted to be attended by many Japanese celebrities. While doing so, she would become a live-in apprentice of one of her talent agency's voice trainers. However, besides singing, Nana had another interest. From when she was small, she loved anison, aka anime songs, and
That's
also
cool.
had an interest in the occupation of being a seiyuu. Because of this, in her second year of high school, she took a voice acting course at the Yoyogi Animation Academy. So yes, Nana first trained to be a singer and ended up aiming to be a seiyuu as well, which explains a lot about her accomplishments I previously mentioned. Maybe it was because she had singing lessons from when she was 5 and most likely already had good control of her voice, but she didn't need to wait long to debut as a seiyuu. In her third year of high school, so around a year after taking that voice acting course, Nana would debut as Karokura Chisato, one of the heroines of the dating sim Noël La Neige of the Noël series that was released on the original PlayStation around the early part of 1998. But she wasn't done yet. She would then play the character Yamato Sora from the comedy sci-fi anime series Jiku Tantei Genshikun, which started airing from that same year in October. This must have been an
Crazy that she started her career the year I was born.
amazing time for Nana, being able to accomplish her dream of being a seiyuu. However, after further research, it unfortunately seems that all was in fact not well around that time. During her second year of high school, Nana was in fact in danger of being expelled from her school. The reason? Her talent agency ended up going bankrupt. The condition for attending that high school and doing her particular course was that she had to be a part of an entertainment agency. But she didn't need to fear. The
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, like, I'm sure another one is gonna pick her up.
voice trainer she was living with would start their own agency called Sanko Music and helped her remain in that school. What a relief, right? Well, not really. That voice trainer, who she called Sensei, did in fact help her. He also regularly committed sexual harassment towards her. This was over the course of 5.5 years, the frequency gradually increasing until it was happening on a daily basis. Apparently it was done in a sort of joking way, but he would touch her chest and her behind repeatedly. Remember, she was 15 years old at
Man, I really didn't know she had such a, like, a crazy backstory from, like, the abusive dad to this. Again, like, all the singers that I like, I'm not someone who usually look up their stories, you know, I just like the music most of the time, but man.
the time she moved to Tokyo. Nana never mentions it's going any further than that, but that it left a scar that still remains to this day. It wasn't until half a year after she made her debut as a singer in the year 2000 with her single Omoi that she was finally able to leave that house. I can only imagine the kinds of emotions she was going through during those 5.5 years. But Nana certainly didn't let that experience affect her career goals. The following year, she voiced in various smaller roles in different anime series and also became a part of a seiyuu unit called Pritz, along with 3 other members, all of which made up the main cast of the anime adaptation of Shista's Princessu. Shista's Princessu being a light novel series. Not only that, also in 2001 under King Records, she would release her debut album Supersonic Girl. The biggest jump in Nana's career as a seiyuu would happen not too long after, as she got to voice Suzuki Nana, the main character of the anime series Shichini no Nana, which started airing in the beginning of January 2002. I actually found out they have this series on Amazon Prime, so I will definitely be watching this. And of course, within that same year, she would voice Hyuga Hinata.
This I didn't know. I mean, as I always said, I'm not the biggest fan of Naruto. Like, I haven't really touched anything Naruto since Shippuden finished, so I kind of forget after all this time.
In the anime adaptation of Naruto. Now, I'm not going to attempt to cover all of what Nana has been able to accomplish. She has been involved in so many different projects over the years and has released so much music, it's insane. But I'm going to guess that strong work ethic is also something she learns from her father. Or maybe she just really loves what she does. Let us know if there's anything particular that you like that Nana has been involved in, or any other thoughts or opinions in the comment section below. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Mizuki Nana is such a big name in the Japanese music world.
Yeah, it definitely, as always, just tells you the early story, because I'm sure there's probably like so much more to cover. I mean, it kind of stopped at like early 2000s, way before Symphogear and many other things.
And voice acting world, and after doing my research, I can understand why. It was pretty
That's
shocking
cool
to me though to find out what happened to her, especially when she first
Oh yeah, she was a character in Basilisk, that's right, I
came
forget.
to Tokyo. Not something I was expecting to find out, but despite those awful experiences, she has done some really incredible things. Anyway, thank you again, guys, for watching.
Okay, yeah, I mean, again, been a massive fan for like at least 10 years now. But yeah, I never looked into her story, like I just don't most of the time. Yeah, which is why this series of stream has been very useful for me. Yeah, one of my favorite singer, absolutely. The Symphogear stuff is just ridiculously good. Okay, good one. Next we have Japan's most vulgar anti-idol group, ASP. Never heard of them. Let's learn.
Anal, sex, penis.
That's the greatest start of a video I've ever seen.
And no, I didn't do my research on the hub. Not this time anyway.
Is it their name? I
We're
see.
going back to whack. That didn't sound right. In this episode of Otaku Files, we take a careful look at the
Okay.
punk rock idol group ASP. Most of
Have
us
I never
outside
heard
of
of them?
Japan may not be aware of some of the more interesting personalities within the Japanese otaku landscape. So I thought I'd do a little video series and try to shed some light on these individuals. This is Otaku Files. As if it wasn't obvious enough already, the Japanese talent agency and record label WACK really does love dishing out their alternative idols. A
they
big
were the
fave
one
of
behind
mine
the-
and many others is of course BIS. But
BIS.
WACK has many other lovely alternative / anti-idols that are sure to make you look twice, or maybe in the case of ASP, a bunch of times. Initially standing for anal sex penis, but later changing it to the less exciting anti-society punks.
Oh, that's a shame. I'm guessing that name is, you know, the whole point is if it's to be an anti-idol and to be like underground, if you pick a name that would never get you, like you never have a chance to be overground. Metal band do that all the time, you know, be it like song names, album name, band name, or even album covers being like too grotesque, literally like you never have a chance to be in any kind of mainstream normal thing, as a statement to say that you are committed to this counterculture thing, right? But I guess they changed their name, so maybe they weren't that committed, I don't know.
ASP is an alternative punk rock idol group that eventually would also incorporate a lot of J-pop elements. In the beginning, along with their punk rock sound, they gave off a very obviously strong anti-idol-like image. In fact, they described themselves as anti-style idols. Very edgy indeed. With delightful sounding songs such as Bollocks, Hatred of Love, and Let's Go as a Weirdo, they certainly went all out on their branding. To no one's surprise, ASP's
Legit.
origins can be traced back to the infamous music producer Watanabe Jinnosuke. You can check out my video on this if you want to know more about him. Interestingly, there was actually a certain event that led to the birth of ASP, the disbandment of a different idol group known as Carry Loose, who were also under the WAC umbrella. The way Carry Loose disbanded though was a bit strange to say the least. Formed around September 2019, Carry Loose's members, two of which were former BIS second gen members by the way, were forced to live together from July 20th, 2020 and couldn't go back home until they got a record deal.
Okay.
What? Oh, and of course you could watch them live whenever you wanted through their 24-hour.
Okay, so it was a show, like a reality show. Okay. I was gonna say, like, I mean, it's still weird as a reality show, but it makes more sense. If it was, like, literally, like, a contract thing, it was weird.
Our Nico Nico Doga stream. Yep, this sounds like Jinnosuke's work alright. However, after 88 days, Jinnosuke would announce that the group would be breaking up at the
I mean, yeah. 88 days is still a lot. Fucking hell.
end of that month, because he decided that the members didn't work well together as a unit.
I actually thought it would be more like the girls just got sick of each other.
すいませんでした。
In a later interview though, Jinnosuke would reveal that ultimately it was the pandemic stifling the group's activities that ended up being a major factor in the decision. Maybe the pandemic was why he wanted them to live together, I guess? In any case, reeling from Carry Loose's breakup, Jinnosuke went back to the drawing board and decided to start a new group that would have a more indie feel and would allow for more flexibility in terms of their sound. That would be ASP. Also, instead of doing any auditions, he picked out who he wanted to be in the group. This would include former Carry Loose member Yumeka Naokana, Naayu, who was a part of WAC's trainee unit called WAC Egg, or WAG for short,
These names.
Mokudayan, and Namae Nai. Apparently another former Carry Loose member, Ururu, was also being considered, but her WAC contract ended up
Our name was actually Namaenai, like, no name.
getting terminated due to her health reasons. For Yumeka Naokana, joining ASP was like a dream. After the breakup of Carry Loose, she thought it was all over and might not have a chance to step out again into the spotlight. However, she held on to hope and waited for Jinnosuke to reach out to her. Luckily for her, he did. Naayu was apparently on hiatus from WAG due to foot issues she was experiencing, so basically it must have been a real surprise for WAG fans when it was revealed that Naayu was actually a part of ASP. Unfortunately though, her foot issue would flare up again down the line and Naayu would end up graduating from ASP and WAC on November 24th. Mogurayan is another interesting case because she took part in the WAC.
You see that all the time with idol group. I mean, all life is the same, right? They see someone with crazy talent, but clearly they have also some health issues, but they take a bet on them, right? Because you can't pass up this talent, but then the story is always the same, right? I mean, the health issues eventually take them down, basically.
Audition Camp 2020, but was eliminated. However, she was also quite popular with a lot of WAC's fans, and Jinnosuke also noticed her potential. Lastly, we have Namae Nai, who apparently was supposed to participate in the WAC Audition Camp 2021, but instead, Jinnosuke invited her to join ASP because he felt that she would end up being eliminated and felt that it would be a waste to lose her. ASP was first revealed on the last day of the WAC Audition Camp 2021 on March 27th, 2021. FYI, WAC has been holding audition camps since around 2017. As mentioned before, the members were pre-selected, so it wasn't some stint in relation to the camp's results, just an added announcement. But even though the members did appear in person, their faces were hidden. Yes, as those familiar with Jinnosuke's marketing techniques might have guessed, he did a campaign on Twitter in which each member had to reach 15,000 followers in order for them to do a face reveal. This was apparently then extended to 20,000 because of how quickly the members
Yeah,
gained
I
their
was gonna say
followers.
that doesn't sound like a lot.
Cheeky. Apparently various tweets were going around with the hashtag anal sex penis, which garnered a lot of attention both in and out of Japan. Yep, that would do it alright. Soon after, on April 9th, we would
Again, like, I don't feel that shocked since I'm into metal, and it's really not that weird, you know, like some of the biggest bands are stuff like Dying Fetus, Cattle Mutilation, etc., you know, Cannibal Corpse, they have like songs, you know, called like Fuck with a Knife, Butcher at Birth, You know, a lot of like grotesque stuff. It's part of you know, the underground side and counterculture side, right? Though from Japan it feels a lot more like, you know, pushing it, right?
Also find out the actual names of the members, as up to that point they were given number identifiers from 0001 to 0004. Also, just before that, as is seemingly traditional for new WAC groups, their first song, Haikei Rockstar Sama, with an in brackets fake, was released, which instead of the members' vocals would have Junnosuke's vocals. Never change. They also announced their debut album, the self-titled Anal Sex Penis, that would be released on May 26. Even though they had already changed their names to Anti-Society Punks by the time of its release, the name of the album didn't change. They would also release songs from the album every week on SoundCloud leading up to its release. The following year would see the release of their second studio album, Placebo, but it would also be the year that they would achieve their major debut under Avex Trax with the song Hypercracker. Despite their really aggressive kind of image, I don't find their songs veer too far away from the likes of BIS and many other WAC units, which obviously means for WAC's general fanbase, they're still quite easy to get into. But man, the names they chose for concerts and some songs were just... yeah. For example, one of their tours was called Tour Star Fuckers, a tour where they started performing new songs, Wasted Tears, and It's a Demo Fuck You. Definitely making full use of that F word.
I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I need to listen to the music, right? But it feels like if they're doing music that's close to BIS, then it's really like not that anti-idol. Like even BIS, you know, it's more like some of the stunt that they do that is weird. The music is a lot more like classic J-pop than you'd expect. So then those girls are kind of the same, right? They use crazy name for songs and stuff like that, but in the end, the music and the style is still like friendly enough to appeal to idol fan.
Now, I mentioned that Naya would end up graduating in November, but around that same time though, ASP would unveil 2 new members, twins even, Machilda and Wonka. But ASP would grow even further the following year with 2 new members, Chi, what a hard name to say, and Rion Town, both of which were finalists of WAC Audition Camp 2022. ASP are still going strong, and in fact, they've even played overseas, which includes my hometown of London. Didn't see that one coming. At the time of this recording, Namae Nai is currently on hiatus due to health reasons, but the group will be expecting a new member to join. In fact, by the time this video goes out, they probably already have. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. ASP were an interesting group to look into. Thank you for the suggestion.
I mean, again, I just feel like it's, again, this producer's marketing. I will praise it, but it seems like that in the end, the groups are pretty straightforward, right? Like, is it anti-idol if the music ends up being pretty close to normal idol stuff? You know, even the dancing look pretty normal, right? Like, I get that the marketing part is anti-idol, the name of the songs, the first name of the band, you know, some of the outfits that they put on, but beyond that, I don't know. I don't think I have the biggest understanding of anti-idol. For me, like, my idea is simply something like, you know, very opposite to it, yeah, in every way, not just in branding, but yeah. But at least I can praise that producer style. I mean, I'm sure all of this gets attention in a world of like oversaturated by musicians and all that, right? He probably managed to get actually attention on his group, so I can praise that, you know. Crass or not, I can praise it, yeah. But yeah, otherwise the group doesn't seem that weird, you know? Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Next, the Japanese idol known for a salty attitude, Shimazaki Haruka, Palulu. Salty, huh?
In the idol world, where you need to not only look pretty, but act like your fans are the center of the universe, this idol was known for only giving her fans the cold shoulder. Also, it probably didn't help that she was a part of arguably Japan's most famous idol group. Just an attitude issue, or was there something else going on here? Let's find out in this episode of Otaku Files as we take a look at Shimazaki Haruka. Most of us outside of Japan may not be aware of some of the more interesting personalities within the Japanese otaku landscape. So I thought I'd do a little video series and try to shed some light on these individuals. This is Otaku
I just realized my chat is probably not up to date. Here we go.
In Japan, whether you're into idols or not, there is at least one idol group that everyone has at least heard of, AKB48.
Of course.
Created by the record producer, lyricist, and TV writer Akimoto Yasushi, unlike other idol groups that held more distance between their fans, AKB48 were marketed with the concept of quote-unquote idols you can meet. They would perform every day within their own theater known as the AKB48 Gekijo, located on the 8th floor of the Don Quixote in Akihabara. They also held handshake events. If you bought one of their CDs, you could get a ticket and get the chance to shake the hand of a member. This was a pretty big sell for many fans. Despite the strong image of being just idols for Akihabara otaku, AKB48's songs would prove to be so successful they would become recognized nationwide, becoming favorites to sing at karaoke. In fact, in 2012, they would become the best-selling female group in J-pop history. AKB48 had many popular members that were known not just within the fandom. For this video, we're going to focus on one of those members, active from 2010 to 2016, who were popular but also had a, let's say, unique reputation. Shimazaki Haruka, whose nickname is Paruru, famous for her Shio Taiyo.
島崎さん的にどのメンバーにソロデビューを飾ってもらいたいですか？
誰でもいいです。
Shio Taiyo directly translates as salty response. You can think along the lines of a cold or unfriendly response too, something you would never usually associate with mainstream idols. That's because what is usually expected is Kami Taiyo, or God level care and responsiveness, the complete opposite of Shio Taiyo.
続いて映ったのは
島崎
春ですね。島崎遥です。
島崎あじゃんけんで一番になった子
センター取った子です。
ちょっとなんかテンション低くない？
そうですね。まあリアクション薄いです。そうです。もともと
そういう子なんや。
薄いんですよね。頑張ってはいるんですけどね。
Shio Taiyo was a term that already existed with.
I mean, to be honest, I know it's become a thing, like a classic thing in idol stuff, but I always find it weird, the handshaking events, because I don't know, like shaking dozens, if not hundreds of strangers, and even if they're your fan, feels kind of weird to me. Like, I wouldn't want to be the idol doing it. Yeah.
In the sumo and pro wrestling worlds, but it's said that Paruru was the one that helped make it more well known generally. Having said that, apparently the Shio Taiyo label was originally slapped onto her by some haters online, in places like the anonymous messaging forum 2chan, but it would even be used within the mainstream media when talking about her. Paruru's viewed Shio Taiyo extends beyond just handshaking events too. For example, during this press conference, you can see all the members with their heads up looking like they are paying attention. And then you get Paruru, with her face down and not looking like she was in the best of moods.
I am surprised. I mean, obviously it makes her stand out, but I didn't expect anyone from AKB to do that, right? Since, you know, they're seen as like the perfect idea of the nice, friendly idol group, so I'm surprised she's doing this, but clearly it helped her stand out and be popular in her own way. Though at the same time, I'm sure she has like more haters than any of the other girls. But I like it.
This video was posted on YouTube back in 2014, and the comment section is filled with hate towards her, with comments like, "I'm surprised she has any fans," and that she should quit being an idol with an attitude like this. You can start to see how Paruru gained her reputation. Even in 2013, during the annual Senbatsu election, a pretty important event where fans get to vote for their favorite members, Paruru's Shio Taiyo shined through. As a chosen member, she needed to give a speech. For most members, this is usually 3 to 4 minutes, but for Paruru, she wrapped things up in a record-breaking 1 minute and 13 seconds.
I mean, maybe she doesn't have a lot to say, it's fine.
Even the host, Tokumitsu Kazuo, tried to pull out a few more words from her, but...
Can I watch this? Maybe. I don't really like Twitter links, they're scary. Oh yeah, it's what you mentioned, but yeah, I don't know if I can... Oh, okay. I'm not even allowed to watch it, so no, I can't. I don't have a right to watch it. Tell Elon Musk that I want to watch this video.
Paruru didn't respond. Better yet, this would happen again in the following year's Senbatsu election when Paruru placed 7th. Where members were giving passionate speeches thanking everyone, Paruru lasted 1 minute and 18 seconds. Well, at least it was 5 seconds longer than the previous year. However, there was something else she did that would shock fans. You see, after a speech, the members would usually have a short interview by the host Tokumitsu Kazuo, but instead of waiting for his questions, Paruru went back to her seat. Absolute madness. Having said all that, it turns out that Paruru just didn't have anything more to say and didn't understand why she would need to be interviewed. I mean, to be honest, I don't agree with the notion that more words equals more feeling or anything like that, and that everyone should be free to dictate how long they want to talk, but that's just the way it is. Now, with Paruru being viewed as someone who does...
I mean, again, like, as a Westerner, all of this, you know, compared to like Western celebrities, this all seems so light, but as we know as always, you know, she's an idol in Japan, and so I'm sure doing all this made her like super disliked. I'm sure on one side there was like a special kind of fan, but on the other side, yeah, I assume she was flamed to the max. The Kami 7, I don't even know who they are. Are they musicians?
Doesn't really care about being an idol or appreciating her fans, one needs to ask, was that really the case? As opposed to her seemingly defiant image, as a kid, Paruru describes herself as a crybaby. Up until her 4th year of elementary school, she made her mother go with her when she went to school. In Japan, usually kids would be going to school by themselves from around their 1st or 2nd year. Paruru also mentioned how even in elementary school, she would really care about what others were thinking, focusing on things like facial expressions. She also studied hard, feeling down if she got anything less than a perfect score on a test. Apparently, she even helped her classmates with their studies too. Wow.
Nice.
Also, growing up with animals around her, Paruru's dream as a kid was to be a veterinarian. Her reason for turning to the idol path, though, might surprise you. It turns out Paruru wasn't having a good time at school. Although she doesn't go into detail, these feelings most likely developed around the time she was in high school. How do I know this, and why is this relevant, you ask? Well, in a YouTube video, she talks about how she no longer wanted to be in school and figured the only industry that would let her work around that age was the entertainment industry. One of her classmates just happened to invite her to take the
AKB's Kami 7 is Atsuko, Yuko, Takamina, Aluna, Tomochin, Mariko, and Mayuyu. Yeah, of course I couldn't name them. I never remember any member name in AKB top of my head. Like I know some of them by face, but I never remember the name.
48 audition set up around that time and saw it as her chance. Paruru was in high school when she took that audition. Yep, her original motivation to be an idol was to escape from school. I do really wonder what happened during school, but apparently her nickname was Nekura, which directed at someone can mean things like nerd, gloomy, or someone with a negative or dark personality. I think that says a lot. But it wasn't like she had no interest in idols. Through her friends' influence, she did get into them. However, she never imagined that she herself could really become one and was shocked when she found out she had passed the audition. Just note though, she didn't drop out of high school, doing both her idol activities and going to school at the same time. But she apparently had a rough time balancing both and was even close to being expelled at one point. Now, some of you might have guessed this, but Paruru is actually a really shy person and always has been, which can explain some things about her childhood. Turns out, she really isn't the type of person you'd usually find in a mainstream idol group like AKB48. She mentions one time she attended a dinner party with Akimoto Yasushi, but was just completely silent and just stared at a reflection of herself through a spoon. I think you can tell why now she was so misunderstood. Of course, this is also related as to why Paruru was viewed as being cold towards her fans. I think you can imagine how much it hurt being told as a 15-year-old idol that you were doing shiotayo towards your fans, when really as a super shy person, you're doing something that is extremely outside of your comfort zone. What's interesting though is that through the media, it sort of became part of her character to be the idol that did shiotayo, and she might have even felt obligated to act that way. Paruru would end up graduating from AKB48 around the end of 2016 because it was just too much for her. She couldn't really see herself being in the group for any longer, and there were other things that she wanted to concentrate on, like being an actress. But she doesn't regret being a part of AKB48 at all. It really toughened her up mentally, and it allows her to do other activities within the entertainment world. She also has a YouTube channel. Although she hasn't been active on it recently, I'll put a link in the description box below. To be honest, it's really impressive that
So it was not an act that she was like this, it was more like, you know, she was just unusual in the first place, yeah. But, you know, I guess in an idol group, it wasn't quite the best kind of unusual, you know.
she lasted as long as she did in AKB48.
Kit Kat.
It must have been really tough on her, especially with the kind of schedule they have. Fairouz seems to be doing things more at her own pace now. She makes appearances in YouTube videos here and there, but definitely keeping things more low-key. Although I do see she is more active on Instagram. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and
Okay, I mean, again, like all the clip you showed feels so not much to me, right? But in a way, again, I'm sure she was standout compared to the other idols, right? Like very distinct personality, and I'm sure that get her fan, but also, yeah, I'm sure that got her a lot of hate, no doubt about that. Very interesting. Palulu. Okay. Interesting character. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Next we have Fairouz. Yeah, another very famous seiyuu. Our JoJo's Bizarre Adventure saved its voice actress. I do wonder about her story, like Fairouz is a pretty interesting name.
some of you may know her as the voice of Sakura Hibiki from Danberu Nankiro Moteru, but for many, I suspect it would be because she's the voice of Kujo
she's
Jori
Jori.
of JoJo's Stone Ocean. From the challenges she experienced during childhood to how she became one of the hottest new seiyus in Japan. Stick around for this
Damn, she's actually Muki Muki.
one. In this episode of Otaku Files, we take a look at Fairouz Ai. Most of us outside of Japan may not be aware of some of the more interesting personalities within the Japanese otaku landscape, so I thought I'd do a little video series and try to shed some light on these individuals. This is Otaku Files. I've covered a few legendary female seiyuu, aka voice actresses, that are well known both in and even outside of the otaku world, such as Mizuki Nana and Uchida Maya, but for this episode, we're going to take a look at a more recent seiyuu, who has been building quite the name for herself.
Yeah, she really feels like she's been around for quite a while already. I mean, seriously, she's done so much. Huh? Beautiful, yeah, sure. Absolutely. I mean, quickly, let's go to Mal. I've heard done so much stuff. I mean, she's been super prolific, even despite some hiatus, I believe. But she's really done a ton. Yeah. Fairouz Ai. Let's see. I mean, side character in Kaguya-hime, Yukarisu in Tanzabulo, Seiyuu Somebody, that's right, in Umamusume. That's a great one, obviously. Kikoro in Kaiju number 8. Let's see. What am I thinking? Oh yeah, she's Lineana in Mushoku Tensei, yeah. She's been so big in recent years that again, it feels like she's been around a long time, but not really. She started doing voice acting in 2019, yeah. And the first one was oh no, actually 2005, wait, interesting, that's really interesting. Our first voice acting role was in 2005 in a Doraemon special, and she played a little kid, but then our second one was 2019 in Kirato Pri-chan, and then main character of Hibiki in Dumbbell Nankiro Moteru. That's crazy. So that was probably the first time I heard her, yeah, because I like that show. Tropical Rouge Precure Cure Summer was good.
Fairouz Ai.
テレビアニメダンベル何キロ持てる
Fairouz Ai, or Fai-chan as is her nickname, stormed onto the seiyuu scene back in 2019, managing to get her first major role within that same year as Sakura Hibiki from Danberu Nankiro Moteru, which turned out to be a really memorable anime. That's for sure. Her performance in Damberu Nankiro Moteru is probably how she also managed to bag herself a Seiyu Award in 2020 in the category of Best New Voice Actresses. But personally speaking, my favorite voice role from Fai-chan is of Power from Chainsaw Man. I love Power, by the way. However,
Same.
the road to Seiyu fame hasn't been a smooth one for her, and Fai-chan has had to overcome a lot of challenges in both her professional and personal life. Fai-chan is from Tokyo and has an older brother who
In Aiseki Shukudo, one of the funniest comedy shows, and she was funny.
happens to be Kadota Gihado, a professional ice climber representing Japan that is ranked 8th in the world. Bet you didn't know that one. Fai-chan's earliest memory is of her going to Disneyland with her family during her elementary school years. She ended up running off by herself somewhere, causing a family search party for her lasting up until the night parade, when one of the Disney cast members brought her back to her family. I'm sure that's one episode her whole family still remembers. As you probably guessed, she was a very active kid, but her mother was also quite strict with her and made sure Fai-chan, with a polite attitude, would correctly address people above her in social rank. Her father is originally from Egypt, and apparently around the house they would speak Arabic when he was home. How Fai-chan's parents met is apparently something even she doesn't know, as the two of them actually don't speak about themselves that much. Fai-chan was also a very outdoorsy type of kid, doing things like going to the lake, making secret bases, and playing with frogs. Her otaku side was there too, as she was also a big fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! However, Fai-chan also held certain feelings of not fitting in, and related to this, decided that she wanted to know more about Egypt. After hearing this, her mother suggested that she attend a Japanese international school based in Cairo, known simply as Cairo Japanese School, which
I didn't know there was any Japanese school in Egypt. Interesting.
she did. Around her 5th year of elementary school, Fai-chan went to Egypt by herself. Yes, her parents stayed in Japan. Of course, she stayed with family from her father's side, but wow, she was a brave kid. She also stayed there until she graduated from elementary school. But it wasn't exactly the best experience Fai-chan had, because she ended up getting homesick. Not being able to express herself in Arabic or English, and also being questioned about her food choices, like eating seaweed, she found it hard to relate to anyone. These were also the days where services like Line or Skype didn't exist, so Fai-chan was not able to speak with her mother that easily. International calls are pretty damn expensive, but she did find the people of Egypt to be very warm and friendly.
Oh, this song. Spice Girls.
Although Fai-chan did take an English class in Egypt too, she still wasn't able to speak that well. Feeling frustrated with herself, when she came back to Japan, she decided to go to an English cram school once she entered middle school. There was something that Fai-chan would learn in Egypt though that would end up connecting to her eventual career path. Around the end of her 6th elementary school year, she would hear from a new student who had just come from Japan about what kind of manga was currently popular. They mentioned series like Gintama, D-Gray Man, and Bleach. Essentially, Jump.
I recently learned that D-Gray Man is still ongoing. It's something that I watched the anime 15 years ago and I did not know it was still ongoing.
Manga. She doesn't know exactly why, but it's probably because she heard this that after getting to Japan, she got completely absorbed into reading Shonen Jump manga, and then blossomed into a full-blown otaku.
Of course, she's a fan of Tsurumi Tokushiro. No surprise, no surprise. The girls love him. I guess losing most of your brain doesn't make you less hot to girls.
In her first year of middle school, she then got into something else, Nico Nico Doga. And it's from Nico Nico Doga that Fai-chan would end up discovering JoJo no Kimyo na Boken, aka JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. For those of us that have dipped our toes in the Nico Nico Doga world, you might have noticed that there are actually a lot of comments with ora 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 ora, muda 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 muda, or daga kotowaru. Curious about what these meant, Fai-chan would look them up and discover that they were lines from JoJo. Really liking the art style, she decided to buy the manga. However, what she started with was the first 5 volumes of Stone Ocean. thinking that this was the starting point, and ended up being quite.
I mean, with JoJo, it doesn't matter. Technically, you can jump in most of them, you know, without the order, right? Technically, better to check them out in order, but...
confused. I'm not sure about the timeline, but apparently Stone Ocean is part 6. But she did find the protagonist, Kujo Jorin, to be really cool, and definitely wanted to know more about her. She would slowly gather all the other parts of the series until she had completed the collection within her first year of high school. Although Fai-chan also found it hard to blend in high school, Jorin gave her strength. Compared to what Jorin was going through, Fai-chan's problems didn't seem that big, and she just wished to be as strong as her. Despite there being rough times where Fai-chan wanted to cry, she told herself that Jorin wouldn't cry and held it together. She played in her head all the ways that Jorin overcame her difficulties whenever something negative happened. Fai-chan says that Jorin and the JoJo series in general has had such a big impact on many aspects of her life, and actually connects to why.
Yeah, I mean, Nico Nico is important, I agree.
She decided to become a seiyuu. Fai-chan would join a JoJo fan group active on Skype, where they would hold these small recitals reading out lines from the show. Although the readings weren't a regular thing, Fai-chan would always be praised for her performance. She also got really into it, feeling like she was actually in the world of JoJo. Not even waiting for the next reading, she would read out lines just by herself. And then she thought to herself, I want to become a real seiyuu and voice a character in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Yep, JoJo was the reason why she wanted to be a seiyuu, and then considered going to a voice acting school. However, there was one hurdle: her parents, who didn't approve of her going the seiyuu route.
皆さん、こんにちは。こんにちは。
To be honest, it's pretty understandable, as many in Japan want to be a seiyuu, but very few actually have successful careers. Fai-chan ended up going to a vocational school for graphic design instead, since she also liked to draw. But even after 3 years, she couldn't give up her dream of becoming a seiyuu, and tried again to convince her parents to let her go to that voice acting school. Her mother said to her that if the seiyuu route doesn't work out, trying to get a job after that would be extremely tough. So, if she really wanted to go, she had to work for at least 1 year, and with the money she made, she can then go to voice training school. Fai-chan agreed.
Actually smart,
And started working as a dental assistant.
Seiyuu school. I mean, there's probably, yeah, voice actor school, I assume, because there's a big dubbing industry in France, you know. Like a lot of what's on TV, when I used to watch TV was, you know, like American stuff, and so it's dubbed in French, and there's also like a good amount of anime, so I'm sure there must be some school, like probably not a lot, but some.
She would later start going to a voice training school while working various part-time jobs. This also
She is really buff.
includes teaching kids calisthenics at a gym. Dumbbell Nankiro Moteru connection right there. After graduating from the voice training school, Fai-chan would manage to join an agency. But as you can imagine, it was pretty tough in the beginning, not being able to pass any auditions. She spent a lot of time wondering if she was doing something wrong, and apparently even wondered if it was her fashion sense. Luckily though, something did come her way, which would launch her career in the best way possible. And that was of course voicing Sakura Hibiki for Dumbbell Nankiro Moteru. Maybe working part-time at that gym really did help. Fai-chan is still very much active. It seems there were some things going on in her private life which led to her needing to take some time out, but she has since changed agencies and is back carrying on her seiyuu activities.
Yeah, I saw that she had taken a break, yeah.
Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, guys.
Okay, interesting story. I always love this kind of story of, you know, she was saved by JoJo in a sense, right? Like someone being kind of saved by a specific series or character or something. I think it's really great. I think it's great. And yeah, she's been an awesome voice actress. I mean, many roles that I like, and I'm still surprised. I didn't actually know that a role in, you know, the Musou anime was like her first big one as a main character, and, you know, she was so good right away. That was kind of crazy. Yeah. And also that she's really buff. That's crazy. Okay, great to learn. Great to learn. Yeah. Okay, she's awesome. Alfred charm and singing Wannabe is the most JoJo thing ever, yeah, I guess so. Oh, misclick. Okay. Next we have the story of Japan's most famous meme, Jikoboe Oji-san. I don't know.
How did a seemingly harmless street interview turn this man into arguably the most famous meme in Japan? Besides that, it turns out he's
Oh, baki dote.
actually quite an interesting person himself. Let's find out what Jikoboe Oji-san is all about. In December 2016, a news program known as Wake Up Plus, broadcasted on the Nippon Television Network, showed a street interview segment.
She used to use the bridge where Tio smashed down Jotaro with a roadrunner. Wow.
That was conducted in front of Tokyo's Shinbashi station. The subject was about the issues with Japan's public pension system, something I won't be getting into for this video. Anyway, as you can imagine, this isn't exactly an easy thing to talk about, but this news program wanted to hear people's opinions on it. One of the people they interviewed was this man, who had this to say about the issue.
I mean, what I know about it is simply that, and it's pretty obvious, right? Japan, Korea have the same problem, and maybe some other countries where, like, you know, the population is only getting older, right? I mean, even in France, it's kind of the same. You know, so, like, there's so much old people getting pension, while the young people, you know, are working for, like, you know, to assist in this pension, while at the same time, it's already being talked about that by the time those young people will be old, they might not even be that system anymore, so they're basically, like, working for others while they themselves will be left in the cold or something. It's often like the debate these days. Oh, self-defense. Escape Japan.
So basically, his stance seems to be screw Japan's pension system and the government and just rely on yourself.
I mean, that's not really a solution. Like, I mean, that's a solution as an individual, but the question is about, like, how to fix the country's problem. And the fix isn't for people to live because, well, I guess if everybody leaves Japan, then there's no pension problem anymore. Baikido recently lost Virgin, but he popped right after starting it, and he broke up. Okay, what a story.
For your own future. Now, at the time, there might not have been that many eyes on this news program, and I'm sure this person didn't really think that much about this interview either later on. Little did
Man, that's my biggest fear in life, going to the street and some random TV thing comes to interview you about something important and I say the dumbest thing ever. That's my biggest fear.
You know, though, what would happen around 9 months later in March of 2018? This interview would end up getting clipped and posted on Twitter, where, as you might have guessed, it would go viral. Because he used the term jikoboe, aka self-defense, this person would be nicknamed Jikoboe Oji-san.
But is he an Oji-san? I mean, he doesn't look that old.
Oji-san, which can mean uncle, is also a general term for a male around middle age. This quote-unquote Jikoboe Oji-san would become a star of the Japanese interwebs.
自己防衛いつまでも筋肉に頼ってちゃダメよ。
People would make parodies, produce fan art, use him in all kinds of photoshopped images. He was everywhere. As for the reason why this interview blew up like it did, many attribute it mainly to his interesting facial expressions. With his longish hair, face stubble, and charming good looks, the almost menacing aura he gave off made him seem like he was no ordinary man. Along with his distinctive facial expressions, some say he looks like a villain from some drama series. Now, despite this person now being an internet sensation, nobody actually
30 years old, really. Obasan mostly used for 50. Woman hates to be Obasan. Okay. I feel like 30 years old would still be an Oni-san, but okay, interesting. I'm almost Oji-san then. Like, I'm almost 28, so soon Oji-san. Okay.
knew anything about him. That was until an acquaintance contacted Jikoboe Oji-san to inform him that he was now a famous internet star. He then, through his own Twitter account, would comment on someone's fan art of him, which is now deleted, revealing that this was actually him. At that time, his Twitter handle was Uranaishi no Teppei, or in English, the fortune teller Teppei. Yes, he was actually a fortune teller. He would eventually change this Twitter handle a few years later, with it containing the name Hashimoto Teppei, which is believed to be his actual name. Within the next couple of weeks from that post, Teppei's follower count went from 500 to around 40,000.
Wow.
Teppei also wasn't a shy person either, and would happily start taking
He
interviews
looks
when we would
charismatic.
get to learn more about him and what transpired around the time he had that famous interview. At the time of that meme interview, Teppei was around 35 years old, and before taking it,
I was right, yeah. Let's say it's 35.
he had just left the hospital where he had a vitamin shot. Apparently, the injection actually hurt quite a bit, meaning he wasn't really in the best of moods.
Okay.
After leaving the hospital and walking along in Shimbashi, he saw a camera crew up ahead of him, but thought that maybe they would go for the woman that was walking just in front of him. Boy, was he wrong. Now, this whole thing happened around the beginning of December, so Teppei was kind of expecting them to ask him things like, how do you plan to spend your Christmas, or what do you plan to do for New Year?
Again, like, imagine you're just a random guy walking in the street and the TV come ask you something like so important. I mean, I'm sure I would say something stupid. Yes.
Instead, he's asked what he thinks about the public pension system and how much money he would likely get when he retires, completely throwing him off guard. With Japan's declining population, this is an issue that pretty much everyone was aware of, and since he didn't want to say something cliché, he just said what he really thought at the time. Interestingly, Teppei was also thinking of going overseas and starting things fresh around that same time, which is probably why he also made the moving overseas and escaping Japan comment. Also, he might have made the self-defense comment because he was still hurting from the vitamin shot. Damn, I hope I never have one of those. Or he could have just meant don't depend on the country and defend your own future. What's actually interesting about that meme interview, which Teppei pointed out, is that usually those that take street interviews don't tend to make those sort of almost provocative comments. Some of you might already be aware of this, but worried about what others might think and wanting to avoid any backlash, Japanese people don't tend to say what they really think.
I also assume, like, most people in a street interview like this, they don't really have, again, like, they don't always have a deep answer, so they just say the classic thing that they've heard, repeated, right?
In front of a camera, and will prefer to give quote-unquote safe or general answers. Even if someone did make those kind of comments, it's not likely that they would be used within a news program. So the bluntness of Teppei's comments, coupled with his facial expressions, is most likely why he garnered so much attention online. It also turns out Teppei isn't actually a stranger to living overseas. During his university years, he would come to know an American salaryman at an eatery he used to frequent. The two hit it off, and Teppei would be offered some interpretation work from his American friend. Not really into what he was currently studying in Japan, Teppei then decided to use this as an opportunity to go study in Los Angeles. After graduating from the university over there, he couldn't imagine himself being a regular full-time worker back in Japan, and so decided to remain in LA, which he did for around 9 years. It's also within LA that Teppei would get more into fortune telling, something he had been interested in since he was a kid. He would also learn Chinese divination there from the Chinese community, known in Japanese as Ekikyo, or in Chinese, Yi Jing. After returning to Japan, he would manage to get work as a fortune teller for a hotel in Yokohama. Teppei has been a fortune teller now for around 15 years.
An hotel is hiring a fortune teller?
When asked about what he thought about the interview going viral and now him being a meme, Teppei says that he now really feels what kind of age we live in and is actually really honored to have had this happen to him. Back in the day, a lot of what happened on TV or on radio would have just been forgotten, but instead, that interview taken a while back gets put on the internet and suddenly everyone's talking about it. Even though it was really surprising, Teppei was very happy that this happened.
クリーミー超音波 洗浄いらずまあ美味しく飲むために必須だよねつまり自己防衛
What's also interesting is that he now gets job offers not only for fortune telling, but to appear as Jikoboe Oji-san. For example, he appeared in a commercial ad for Kadokawa to promote the manga series Isekai Oji-san.
That's a good one. I'm sorry, but it's two different type of Oji-san. I mean, this is like Ikemen Oji-san versus Isekai Oji-san was, you know, yeah.
He even appeared again for an ad to promote the anime adaptation of Isekai Oji-san. Also, very recently, he appeared in a VTuber's birthday stream to promote their original song. He's also made various appearances on different YouTube channels. If you want to know what Teppei is up to now, I'll put a link in the description box below. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, guys.
Which VTuber did he appear in? Doesn't say. Okay. Okay, well, nonetheless, I mean... Oh wait, is it Laplace? Wait, he appeared in a Laplace stream? Really? For real? Okay, seems like there's a bunch of people in this. Okay. I guess Laplace is a fan of the meme. Interesting. I don't know where it is in all this, but okay. Alright. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, seems like a fun guy. What I can say. Good video. Just interesting. Yeah. Next we have the Japanese idol publicly abused because of her age. Oori Megumi Mitan, AKB again.
Her dream of being in the most famous idol group in Japan came true, but in reality, it may have just been a complete nightmare. Mistreatment and humiliation because of her age? We're taking another peek at AKB48's murky past. In this episode of Otaku Files, we talk about Ohori Megumi. Most of us outside of Japan may not be aware of some of the more interesting personalities within the Japanese otaku landscape, so I thought I'd do a little video series and try to shed some light on these individuals. This is Otaku Files. As I mentioned in my video on Shimazaki Haruka, AKB48 marketed themselves as being idols you can meet. And among other things, there is another important aspect to their appeal: youth. Of course, with them needing to dance and sing all day, being young certainly helps with their recovery, but I don't think that's necessarily what their fanbase may care about. Now, in terms of age, some girls can be as young as 12 when they enter the group, and
that's crazy. That's so fucking young.
Typically, members will graduate sometime in their early 20s to pursue other goals. So in that respect, this member I'm going to talk about was actually pretty unique. Ohori Megumi, whose nickname is
Or did she join in her 20s?
Meetan, became a member of AKB48 at age 22, debuting in 2006. Due to this, she would face hardships that she and her family could never have imagined, in one of the worst open public displays of mistreatment I have ever heard of from a mainstream idol group.
Oh boy.
シングル CD が1万枚売れなかったら AKB 卒業 AKB 卒業
AKB48 を卒業
Born in Chiba but raised in the Shinagawa ward of Tokyo, Meetan was apparently quite a normal and obedient kid, eventually gaining an aspiration to be in the entertainment world. When she was in her second year of high school, she would become a model for the teenager-orientated magazine My Birthday. She would also go down the gravure route too, going under the showbiz name of Matsushima Megumi, and it seems she even released a couple of DVDs too. Meetan has talked about this in her book/essay Saikaso Aidoru Akirame Nakereba Ashita wa Aru, but I'm not sure how many AKB48 fans were aware of this. However, I'm going to assume that this might not have been a long-term thing, as after she graduated from her junior college, she supposedly worked more average part-time jobs. According to this AKB48 TV program, that's when she came across an ad for the AKB48 audition and decided to apply by sending in her resume. She would then get a phone call saying that she had passed, but not for being an actual member of AKB48, but to be hired as a staff member working at the cafe set up within the AKB48 theater. Metan, though, didn't give up on her dream. Not wanting to lose to girls younger than her, she decided to wait for the next round of auditions. For the audition, Metan, then aged 22, had to dance within a group of 5. As you might have guessed, the other members were much younger than her, including one that was just 10 years old. Despite that, she gave it her all and amazingly managed to pass the audition. AKB48 actually has a number of teams within it. Metan would join Team K. That would be the second team formed within AKB48. She finally made it, right? Well, not exactly. Fans of AKB48 or other major idol groups probably already know this, but for a song release, not every member necessarily gets to sing in it. Usually there is a selection process known as senbatsu that the members need to go through, and unfortunately, time and time again, Metan wouldn't be chosen.
I mean, I assume like she's not the only one. Even though they're called AKB48, from what I understand, sometimes there's like up to 100 members or something, and I'm sure like so many of them just don't get chosen for much, right?
Not only that, during their performances on stage, while her juniors would take center stage, Metan would often find herself being positioned at the back to the far left corner. This is where literally you would have the least amount of light shone on you. This place would even be nicknamed the All-Hori Zone. How charming. This complete lack of exposure also led to something else. As I've talked about in the Shimazaki Haruka video, AKB48 held handshaking events where you could shake the hand of your favorite member, but for Metan, nobody stood in line to shake her hand. Apparently, a fan of another member even said to her in a demeaning way that he would shake her hand as a favor to her, which led to Metan shedding tears.
Who says that?
Suffice to say, she was very frustrated and did think about quitting a number of times, but also felt that she was being pathetic whenever she did. However, that's not all. There was another issue: money, or should I say, the lack thereof. I'm not sure how much AKB48 members get paid now, but Metan says at first everyone's monthly pay was just 45,000 yen. To put things in perspective,
that's just... How do you live? Or I guess maybe they have a dorm and they get food, but man...
A generally low-paying job in Tokyo would be around 230,000 yen. I don't think 45,000 yen would even cover my shopping bills for a month. I mean,
yeah.
The starting age for new members is usually 12 to 16, so I guess that makes sense. Metan was doing something...
I mean, yeah, it makes sense in the context of, you know, how the law and the entertainment industry absolutely love abusing the fact that somebody's underage, right? I mean, you're gonna make them work and make you money as much as an adult, but you're gonna say they're young, so we pay them nothing. It's like that in many countries.
She loved, so she was just thankful for that, but acknowledged that her friends who did ordinary jobs were getting paid 5 times more than she was. Of course, on her salary, there was no way she could afford a place to rent, so initially she was just traveling to the AKB48 theater in Akihabara from her hometown in Chiba. This was a 2.5-hour journey, and as you can imagine, this was financially quite taxing, but I'm sure mentally it was no walk in the park either. Luckily, her parents agreed to help out on rent, enabling her to eventually rent a place in Akihabara. But of course, that didn't mean that Metan wasn't still broke. To survive, she would often take home any complimentary bentos that were left over after the members were done with them. When there were none left, she would eat bean sprouts that were being sold for 18 yen at a cheap supermarket near the theater, or go for bentos that would end up being half price later on at night to have as their meals for the next day. For members to get paid more, they needed to make sales, which meant selling things like photos of themselves.
Man, she really was dedicated again, yeah. I didn't think of it, but I guess joining older isn't just that people are gonna say you're too old for this, but also the fact that, yeah, like you probably, you know, the little money that you're gonna make doesn't make sense. Yeah.
This usually results in a pay gap between popular and not so popular members. Not exactly the AKB48 dream Metan was likely hoping for. Things started to change when she would start appearing on AKB48's late night TV show. This initially wasn't so often, but she would start catching some attention for things that happened on the show. For example, when this slide supposedly malfunctioned and Metan was stuck at the top. Coupled with this, the host Sata Masaki and even other members would start calling Metan Baba, which is actually a disrespectful way to refer to an older woman around middle age. Metan was probably only around 24 years old at that time.
It's insane, like 24 and you call her Baba. I mean, bruh.
But it was a very clear way of distinguishing her from the other younger members. Sata Masaki would even call her Kusobaba, which is honestly just plain rude, but also part of Sata Masaki's character, I guess.
I mean, if it's just jokes, it's fine.
Now, this was a way to bring her into the picture, and some say this also helped achieve that, but Metan did mention in an interview years later that it was really hurtful to be called those sort of things. She also started to adopt a certain character, one that was more bold and quote-unquote sexy, kind of veering off the typical AKB48 idol image and actually echoing more her gravure days. Then, AKB48's producer, Akimoto Yasushi, proposed a certain plan, one where Metan would release a song called Amai Kokansetsu under the name Ohori Meshibe. By the way, this song has some pretty spicy lyrics. She would then be given a goal to sell 10,000 copies of this song within 1 month. If she failed to do so, she would be forced to graduate, which basically means to get fired from the group. Whether she really had a choice in accepting or not, I'm not sure, but this project would start in October 2008. However, the promotion tactics that she was made to do as part of this whole thing was not nice to say the least. For example, on the show, Metan was made to take a checkup, which involved having an endoscopy. Like...
Okay.
What the hell? Also, she would be shown going all over Japan to get people to buy a copy of her song, but the outfit that she was wearing was essentially lingerie. She would even be shown pushing a cart of her CDs in that lingerie.
It's definitely getting weird. I mean, they're definitely bullying her, basically.
Was just this overall theme of her being desperate to sell copies. This was pretty degrading if you ask me, and this stuff being televised on the show apparently caused a lot of issues between Metan and her family. At the end of this whole thing, she did actually manage to reach her goal and stay in AKB48.
Do you even want to say at this point?
That was until the following year in August 2009, when it would be announced that she would be transferred to a new group, started by Akimoto Yasushi, known as SDN48. Metan would graduate from AKB48 in February 2010, beginning her SDN48 activities a couple of months later. She would also join a talent agency known as Horipuro. SDN48 had more older members and more matched Metan's sexy image. She apparently was also one of the more popular members of the group. However, SDN48 would end up disbanding in March 2012. The group lasted for around 2.5 years. Metan would also make an appearance at AKB48's anniversary concert in December that year. Some say it was pretty low to transfer her to SDN48, as it just seemed to be a way to get rid of her. But you could also argue that it was Akimoto Yasushi's way of trying to let her keep being an idol. You can let us know what you think in the comments section below. Now, Metan is happily married and has 2 children. She has apparently left Horipuro earlier this year and is not so much in the showbiz spotlight anymore, but she does seem to be really happy now. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for this suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, what can I even say? Just, you know, like there's 2 levels of insane. The first level of insane is that most of the idols are like, you know, from like 12 to 18 or something, and that an idol that's 22 is constantly like attacked for being too old or something, right? It's kind of insane. I don't really know what to say beyond that, just insane. Yeah, that's really all I can say. But interesting video. Insane stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'll leave it at this episode for today. We learn about, you know, a good amount of people. Good stuff, but a lot of sad stuff too, I mean. But at the same time, yeah, a lot of dark stories that forge people in some way. You could say there's that if you want a bit of positivity, you know. Anyway, thank you guys for coming as always. Check out Neon John in the video. We'll do more of this later. Tomorrow, Sunday stream. Come watch if you want. Like, subscribe, comment as always. And I'll see you guys next time. ExoticBankai. See you.